Everybody could take their seats so we can get started. Welcome to the November meeting of the Long Island Railroad Committee. Public comments?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we have 4 speakers signed up to speak today. The first is Omar Vera, followed by Orrin Getz. I'd respectfully remind the speakers to keep their comments to 2 minutes out of deference and respect for all of the speakers, and to speak to matters on the committee agenda. So the first speaker is Omar Vera.
Hello. Well,
good morning.
Welcome back. Oh, morning. So welcome back to the LIRR committee. Holiday season style, because the last 2 months you meet mid-month. So, all right. So I don't really have much to say. Just mostly just reiterate what I said last month, and also to and I mentioned this before, but simply create a East Side Access for Capital Construction Company to construct the East Side Access Information Center like Transit did with the Second Avenue subway. Just so as time gets closer to opening, just so that New Yorkers and tourists alike could get a glimpse of the hard work that everybody here has put to expanding the system, our transportation network, and making it the best in the country and one of the best in the world. And all right, so I support all of the procurements here, and all these projects and modifications. And let me just correct one more thing from the minutes. I didn't say that the LIRR should move one of their machines from Penn Station to Atlantic Terminal. I just said they should create new machines at Atlantic Terminal and keep the current machines at Penn Station. So other than that correction, everything is shipshape. And thanks for having me here, and I yield back the balance of my time. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Okay, the next speaker is Mr. Orrin Getz.
Chairman Pelley, just in response to your committee comments at the Metro-North Committee meeting, the situation with New Jersey Transit is a lot worse than you even think. And we have brought this up at the last New Jersey Transit Board meeting. Myself and Commissioner Glucksman had a meeting with New Jersey Transit Stop Management, and we're really putting the pressure on them to straighten out their situation. It's a lot worse than as you think, as I said. So whatever Metro-North can do to help would be greatly appreciated. But also I want to talk quickly about the Long Island Railroad. A couple of weeks ago, myself, Commissioner Glucksman, and several other people took a nice ride all the way out to Greenport, Long Island on the main line. It was a very interesting experience, and it's in many ways a different world than the rest of the Long Island Railroad. It's dark territory. There is no signaling. The trains just run occasionally. I know they put in a new schedule effective today, which should help somewhat, but it still falls short of what you really need. And I'm not saying that the Port Jervis line schedule is the most fantastic schedule. I think Commissioner Metzger could comment on that. But when you compare the Port Jervis line to the main line of the Long Island Railroad, you can see that the Port Jervis line is far superior. Also, you can see what Metro-North is doing to bring the signaling system on the Port Jervis line up to standards and meet the PTC deadline. They're working very hard on it. And actually, the Port Jervis line is a more difficult line to run and operate because it goes through valleys and mountains and tunnels, and the Long Island Railroad out to Greenport is basically in flat territory. But you could use this as a guide of what your sister railroad did to maybe give better service to the eastern end of Long Island. It's a good guide, and I think it's a good start. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next 2 speakers are Mr. Murray Bowden, followed by H.P. Schroer.
And here is the problem that you're all facing. Right here are the instructions for speakers. The instructions that were read before this meeting started were not the same. They were the old system. If you can't understand what you wrote up here, and there's a tape of this, you can go back and look at the tape of it, because I will. The instructions to a speaker were not the same as what's written here, as what happened this morning in the first meeting. And what's going on at the railroad crossing in East Hampton, where there are two sets of traffic lights, one flashing red and one traffic light, on the same pole, and nobody goes to correct it. You're doing things the way you always did it, and nobody's thinking about the future. Why should there be flashing red lights at any railroad crossing when every light rail crossing is controlled by traffic lights? Light rail, Boston, Washington, Atlanta, all controlled by traffic lights. Light rail in New Jersey, within the city is traffic lights. So why are there flashing red lights and traffic lights on the same pole, confusing to the driver who is not paying attention anymore? The inability of Long Island Railroad to address that issue is what's going on. Until you face the fact that some of the procedures you're using are vastly outdated and based on things that happened 50 or 75 or 100 years ago, you're wasting money. You just spoke about PTC. There's an article that I'm going to send you about truck drivers, trucks going by themselves. Why can't the same technology that permits cars and trucks and buses to drive by themselves be on the Long Island Railroad? Google and everybody else can map the railroad tracks, and if there's an anomaly, the train will stop by itself without any controls going anywhere to any computer and any fiber, which will never be. Trucks can drive themselves, buses can drive themselves, cars can drive themselves, but trains can't. Find somebody on the tracks. You're waiting for PTC, and you're so involved with that, you don't see the forest for the trees. So when does this get cured? When do you start paying attention to what's going on now? Harvey Weinstein had to get everybody sensitized to the fact that women have been abused for years. Christine Gillibrand on CNN last Thursday night, you can go see it on YouTube, described her sexual harassment experiences. That's our New York, that's our senator from New York State. This is a new world, people. You're not paying attention. You're letting whoever said that thing before we started say the wrong thing, and you haven't stopped them from doing it. It's time you paid attention to where we're going and not where we came from.
Thank you.
The last speaker is H.P. Schroer.
Good morning.
Good morning.
You may recall when I appeared before you at last month's committee meeting, I presented a proposal for a veterans discount. The discount to be the same as a senior discount, but available to all veterans and their spouses, regardless of their age. Since my appearance, I have received endorsement from veteran organizations and city council members. They include Senator Benjamin, Assemblywoman Inez Dickens, the Department of Veteran Affairs, and Bill Perkins. In addition to it, the VFW, the American Legion, and the general public supports this proposal. Veterans fought for you. It's your turn to step up to the plate. According to statistics from the U.S. Census Bureau and the Department of Veteran Affairs, 40% of veterans have a family income of $40,000 or less. Many of them are less than $10,000. This is not something that can be easily remedied. I know you have a lot on your plate, but this is a moral obligation that you folks have, and I hope you step up to the plate. I don't know what the procedure is. I haven't received any notification in terms of whether any action has been taken on this, so I'd like to get an answer.
I would assume, sir, that this issue, along with a variety of other fare issues, will be discussed when this board discusses the next round of fare increases, which is next year.
So this is in conjunction with other fare
That is correct,
increases?
because we have a variety of other people who also want fare discounts for a variety of reasons, not making a judgment one over another. They will all be discussed together, because obviously the financial situation has to be remedied to be able to include or not include any one or all of them in that
I could
context.
appreciate that. I'm not a financial man. I just like to leave this with your thought. If you were to add 2 cents to the price of admission, to the price of a ticket, you would more than cover the cost of the veterans discount. In addition to which, there would be a surplus. I'll leave it to your financial people to make an analysis. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, sir. That includes public comments. Thank you. I have the minutes from the October 23rd meeting. Are there any changes other than Mr. Vera's one statement, which we will amend? A motion to approve, second. All in favor? Any change to the work plan, Pat?
No changes.
No change to the work plan. Why don't we go in then to your report?
Okay, thanks. Can I get the photos up there? You may remember last year, the Long Island Railroad ran for the first time a holiday express train from Ronkonkoma into Penn Station with discounted tickets to the holiday show that was at Madison Square Garden. We really didn't advertise it last year, and we sold it out in less than a week. So this year, we've added a second holiday train, and it will leave from Babylon Station. So we have on Saturday, December 16th, I believe it is, the date. We have the Ronkonkoma train, and on Sunday, December 17th, we will have the Babylon train, and it's the same type of deal. The train will be fully decorated. We will have an abundance of people on there. We'll have carolers at the home station. It is an express train. It does not stop along the route. I believe as of Friday, we were about 85% sold out already. So it is something that has been very well received and very popular, and I thought it would be a good way to start my remarks about the fact that we have increased this service going forward. With that, I want to move on to another service change, and that is a change that one of our speakers mentioned, the North Fork service that we put in place starting today. And it's important because what we did was done in conjunction with the leadership out on the East End. It was an effort where we worked with what we could do, and they worked with what they would like to do, and it was a redesign of our schedules, which we really don't do all that often, and it was done in conjunction with the local community. So it was a very positive, in my regard, effort in that they were able to actually participate in the scheduling process and to come up with within the parameters of what the railroad could accommodate, that the service was modified going forward. So it'll be interesting to see how it works and what additional tweaks may be available down the line. But it is an effort that we've been working with them on some time. And that is dark territory, but I will mention this past weekend that we had another dark territory, and that was out to Montauk, and that is no longer. We're happy to report today that after probably a couple years of effort, we have a brand new signal system installed out from Spionk to Montauk. It is up and running and in service. It was cut over this past weekend, so it is a good addition to our service. As you know, we're also working with East End folks on the South Shore to see what we can do to modify that service, and having a signal system out there will certainly contribute to being able to have more flexibility than we have today with the manual block system that was out there. So it's a good news thing. I do need to talk briefly, and I mentioned this last month, about the continuing Amtrak work at Penn Station. The summer work was not the end of the work. I've mentioned that several times. They have continued into the fall, and most of that work was nighttime and weekend. But we have been working with them very closely on trying to project into 2018. And while we're not ready to identify what the service impact will be, it will be much more than we experienced this fall. It will not be as much as we experienced last summer. But they need to take 3 station tracks completely out of service for total reconstruction of the station tracks. They will be done one at a time, and all 3 station tracks are tracks that are utilized by the Long Island Railroad, they being tracks 15, tracks 18, and track 19. So that work will start in January. We are doing the due diligence currently that we did for the summer service to actually try and accommodate as many riders as possible, as many trains as are possible into Penn Station. But it looks like there will be some trains that will have to be diverted. We're not yet ready to roll out that service plan because we're still finalizing the details with Amtrak and New Jersey Transit. But there will be an impact come January, and it'll probably run through May. So it's going to be an extended period of time that they'll be in there doing more aggressive work on the track structure in Penn Station. So it is it's an important project for the safety of our trains and our operations, but it will be an impactful project that will impact the level of service. And it's just the peak times, but obviously peak is where we operate at maximum capacity, so it will be a time of impact to the service we'll be able to run. And the final thing I'd like to bring up, if I could, for just a couple minutes, is a video of the Post Avenue Bridge work that was done last month that I reported on. We actually have a time-lapse video of it. I'd like to run that if I could. So you can see our weekend was a busy one from Friday night through Monday morning, but it was a very successful weekend, and thanks to, you know, as you can see, it was a joint effort with the Long Island Railroad forces and the contractors' forces, the Halmar team. So it was a very successful weekend, and we're very proud we're able to replace that bridge in a weekend and have the least impact possible on our service. And here's a few more pictures of last year's holiday train.
And hopefully no trucks will hit the bridge anymore, which was the point of all of this.
That's the goal.
First of all, I want to thank, Pat, you and your staff for the tremendous outreach to the east end of Suffolk County on both forks. I think we've made tremendous progress on the North Fork now, and hopefully on the South Fork with our interim additions, and hopefully next year what else we'll be able to do with them. So I want to thank you and the staff for all your efforts in that regard. It's been very much appreciated by both the citizens and the elected officials out on the East End, who continue to thank us for paying attention to them in that regard. So it's been very helpful.
Well, and, you know, it's a partnership we need to make with all the communities that we operate through, because a big part of what we do affects those communities.
Yep.
So it's something we work very hard at.
Any questions or comments on the report? If not, we'll go to safety.
Good morning. Our safety report showing our performance through the month of September can be found on page 66. I did want to bring to your attention two important customer safety engagement activities that we're embarking on this week. This week is Escalator Elevator Safety Week, and in recognition of that, our staff will be out at a number of stations to hand out educational brochures and engage customers in conversations about escalator and elevator safety. In addition, on Wednesday, November 15th, in partnership with Amtrak, New Jersey Transit, and New York City Transit, we'll be conducting our Customer Safety Awareness Day at Penn Station. As we've had conversations, Penn Station remains one of our areas of greatest concern when it comes to customer injuries and safety. So this is actually our third year in working in partnership with our fellow rail agencies, and our Let's Travel Safely Together campaign will continue to focus on the customer behaviors that create the greatest risk for slip, trips, and falls, because slip, trips, and falls continues to be the main driver of injuries, customer injuries at Penn Station. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you have about our numbers.
Any questions? If not, thank you very much. Capital Construction, is there any report? No report this month. Okay. MTA Police, Chief?
Good morning. System-wide for October, total major felonies were down by 7, 23 versus 30, or a reduction of 23%. Year-to-date, there were 218 crimes versus 259. That's down 41, or 16% system-wide. The Long Island Railroad, we experienced a reduction in major felonies of 60% for the month of October. That's 6 versus 15. Down 60%, or down by 9. Year-to-date, the Long Island Railroad experienced 82 versus 110 crimes. That's down 28, or 25% for the Long Island Railroad. And as the President mentioned, the Post Avenue, we were fully engaged that weekend securing that site and dealing with traffic. Just to expand on the hate crime report I gave earlier, at Metro North, 23 versus 8 hate crimes were up. I broke it down a little further for Long Island Railroad. Long Island Railroad experienced 16 of those 23. 7 were from Metro North, 1 Staten Island Railway. And we're going to continue the breakdown and study.
Chuck?
Are you able to zero in on the area where in Long Island those hate crimes occurred?
Yes.
Where?
Actually, 50%, that's 8, occurred at Penn Station over several different days, a period of about a month. and that was the incident back in January where we made an arrest. It was graffiti hate crime, which involved swastikas and anti-Mexican statements, and that individual was arrested.
Do you have any idea what happened to him?
Yes, his name is Vargas, Pascual Vargas. He was sentenced, convicted, and I don't want to mention the exact sentence because I may get it wrong, but he did serve time.
It was time.
Yes.
Terrific. Not enough. Thank you.
And that concludes my report.
Any other questions for the chief? Ira?
My question's around grand larceny auto. I'm just curious as to when someone's automobile is stolen and they report it, is that included from all our parking lots? Is that included there? Or let's say they call the local police in Nassau or Suffolk and they take the report. Do we include that in our statistics?
We don't. We don't. We include parking lots that belong to the railroad, either Metro-North or Long Island Railroad.
So these are only parking lots that belong to the Long Island Railroad or the Metro-North, and parking lots that are, which is mostly the case, I think, in Nassau and Suffolk, are really town or
Correct.
a locality. So whereas Metro-North, I believe, they control most of their parking lots. Is that? I think that's
my understanding.
Yeah.
Long Island, most, if not all, of the parking lots are municipal parking lots.
Okay.
And that creates a collaboration that we have with the local village or county departments to address any of those
right.
problematic
But we don't show
locations.
those thefts in our
No, we don't.
statistics. Okay. All right.
Chuck, go ahead.
Can I go back to your report on Penn Station? Do the numbers include the hate crime numbers? Do they include those committed not on the Long Island Railroad portion of Penn Station, but on the Amtrak? I assume it doesn't.
No, they don't. They
To
don't.
what extent have you been able to coordinate with the Amtrak police on the remainder?
Well, incidents are discussed with myself and Chief Marty Conway on a quarterly basis. We discuss all of our crime, including the hate crimes. Any type of patterns or any type of similarities we address. As far as anything happening up in Amtrak versus anything happening in Penn Station.
Would you be good enough to communicate to your Amtrak counterpart that we're watching
Of course.
and counting? Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else? Okay. Information items, Pat?
The first information item is a yearly event, and that is the review of the committee charter. There are some non-substantive changes that are provided to you in a red line type adjustment. They will actually be discussed at the governance committee, which will take place in December. So any comments that you have can be given to us in time.
I have raised the issue why we still list MISBA, and I assume we will discuss that at the December meeting. Unless Nassau County wants to give it back, which we may or may not decide to take in that context, but at the moment, since we don't control it, we don't obviously discuss it. Ira?
I think that's statutorily required. That might...
Could be.
I think MISBA is in statute. Does anybody... It is. So we probably can't until it's taken out of... The other thing, just a short comment, that there's requirements in the MTA statute about certain requirements about certain board members serve on certain committees. I noticed that's lacking in this charter as well as the other ones. In fact, in the CPOC, it was taken out. I don't know why. If someone could explain that, not necessarily now, but maybe at the governance committee meeting, that I'd appreciate, or that maybe we should include the statutory requirements of membership on in our charters. Thank you.
Okay, we'll have that looked at. Anyone else on the charter? If not, East Side Access Support Projects?
Paul Dietlin?
Good morning. I'm Paul Dietlin. Today I'll provide a brief update on Long Island Railroad's East Side Access Support Projects. There you go. Okay, as you'll see on this slide, that our East Side access support projects are located on various parts of our system. Of course, the Jamaica Capacity Improvements project is taking place in and around our Jamaica complex. The Great Neck Pocket and Port Washington Yard projects are all on the Port Washington branch. Our Massapequa Pocket track is on the Babylon branch, and our Mid-Suffolk Yard is located out in Ronkonkoma on the main line. There are 5 individual East Side access support projects in our program with a total budget of $495 million. The projects are progressing in various phases of work. The top 3 projects, Jamaica Capacity, Massapequa Pocket Track, and Great Neck Pocket Tracks, are well into construction. And the Port Washington Yard extension remains in the planning phase, with design anticipated to start next year pending agreement with the community. And the design-build Mid-Suffolk Yard is expected to be awarded late this year, hopefully next month. Jamaica Capacity Improvements Phase 1 will provide the added capacity needed for Jamaica Station and its surrounding infrastructure to service East Side access. As you're aware, we've already shifted the tracks to make room for the new platform that is required for Jamaica Station to support service to our western terminals. Platform construction was awarded back in September of 2016, with completion scheduled for the third quarter of 2019. The new platform will have full connectivity with the rest of Jamaica Station. The platform escalator and elevator will connect to the existing portal mezzanine and provide access to the rest of Jamaica Station, the New York City Transit, and of course the air train as well, and local bus service at street level. Although the full benefits of Jamaica Capacity won't be realized until East Side Access opening day, immediate benefits will include a 6th platform at Jamaica with additional routes available to Brooklyn. The photos included in this slide demonstrate construction progress being made on Platform F and the Dunton interlocking portions of the project. To the left, you can see one of our major excavation efforts for connection to the new platforms down to the street level at Sutphin Boulevard. The top and center photo shows some of the work associated with our new Dunton crossover and Signal Bridge foundation work, which took place back in October. And the top right photo shows the platform foundations nearly complete. And of course, the bottom right is an artist's rendering of the new platform after completion. See if I can get this to switch. Next slide, please. Doesn't seem to want to cooperate. Well, the next slide is also shown in your book, and it. Let me see if I go ahead. See if I can do this now. Oh, there we go. As shown here, the new Massapequa Pocket Track is located between Massapequa and Massapequa Park stations, and when completed, it will allow for mid-branch turning of trains for additional express service on the Babylon branch, and of course, the support of East Side access. The date for system completion and cutover of the Pocket Track has been adjusted 18 months to allow for Long Island Railroad force account support of other critical projects. I'll note that the forecast completion still remains earlier than the start of planned East Side access service. Here's a picture of the Great Neck Pocket Track. Obviously, the Colonial Road Bridge was the first piece of that project that was completed back in 2016. The existing Pocket Track east of the Great Neck Station will be extended to accommodate an additional 12-car train. That Pocket Track's, of course, located within our right-of-way. Initial civil and site work for the 1,100 feet of track of work for the Pocket Track were completed back in September of 2016 under a design-build contract. That was part of the Colonial Road Bridge work. And the contractor's work included a new drainage system, retaining walls, and of course the track is shown on the photo in the right. Signal hut procurement package is currently in progress, and it's forecast to be awarded in the first quarter of 2018 with delivery of the signal equipment in the end of the third quarter. The 4 track switches are currently being fabricated and are scheduled for delivery in summer of 2018, and we anticipate cutover at the end of 2018. Similar to Massapequa Pocket Track, the date for system completion and cutover for the Pocket Track has been adjusted 12 months to allow for Long Island Railroad support of other projects, and the forecast completion remains earlier than the start of planned east-side access service. We are working with the town of North Hempstead with the Port Washington yard track extensions to determine the best design approach for extending the yard track so as to minimize impacts to what is already limited customer parking. Options have been discussed, and upon decision and agreement, the design effort will commence. We're targeting a design start before the end of 2018 with completion of the yard track extensions by mid-2022. And finally, the design-build Mid-Suffolk Yard project will expand our existing Ronkonkoma Yard with 11 additional 12-car capacity storage tracks. The yard will provide the needed East End train storage capacity for East Side access. In addition to the new tracks, the project will include a drill track, an employee facility, some storage buildings, outdoor material laydown and storage areas, and AC and DC substations. We're actively in the procurement process right now, and design-build construction of the Mid-Suffolk Yard is scheduled to be awarded again at the end of this year with an anticipated 30-month duration. The project's award and BU dates have been slightly adjusted 3 months since last reported at CPOC as we completed the procurement process. The project still remains within budget. And that concludes my presentation.
Any questions on any of these items? Chuck?
On 2 of your reports, I believe one of them was Great Neck. You said the estimated completion date is before the completion of East Side access. That doesn't really tell me when this is going to happen.
Sure, we're anticipating completion of Great Neck at the end of 2018, so at the end of the fourth quarter of 2018. And Massapequa Pocket Track, we're targeting, I believe it's April of 2019.
Yeah, Chuck, if I could jump in, all these projects, the last piece is the signal system. And the problem we have right now in 2018 is we have PTC. As you know, we just finished up the Spionk to Montauk this weekend. We have the mainline double track project to be cut over, and we also have a signal upgrade on the Long Beach branch that was being done as a Sandy project. So we have a tremendous amount of signal projects that are on our plate right now, and some of these other projects have had to suffer a little bit.
And I congratulate you for doing that kind of extensive work. Let me ask you a question which you can answer either today or offline. I heard the radio report this morning about the completion of the Montauk work or the like, and referring to that as part of the, quote, dark territory, unquote, where instructions were handed to motormen by little messages given to them by hand when they passed the tower. My question to you is, to what extent in the so-called dark territory are there other antiquated devices still going on?
Well, we have a diversity of signal systems on the Long Island Railroad. While we just eliminated a significant in terms of length, number of track miles, territory in Montauk, we still have the Greenport that is dark territory. So it is an ongoing effort, as is modernizations of automatic block signal systems. We're trying to upgrade everything to an automatic speed control system, but there's a lot of projects, and when you throw PTC, which is the entire railroad on top of that, in terms of upgrades, we just have a lot of projects that we're trying to move forward.
But are the signals the principal differentiation between the dark and the light?
The dark territory has no signals. I'll make it as simple as that. You operate under verbal orders from a train dispatcher is the way that it functions now.
Thank you.
Any other question? Ira?
More of a comment. I mean, for the last 2 months, I've had an opportunity to comment about the Jamaica capacity improvements and a level of dissatisfaction with making Brooklyn service, especially in the peak, a stepchild. I think there's a choice being made here, sacrificing Brooklyn service for East Side access, and on-time performance, I suppose, is part of that. In doing that, there'd be too many trains crossing one another, I suppose. But I really think that we should take a second look at this, especially before we move to phase 2, to see what can be done, especially in the off-peak or in the shoulder periods, about providing through Brooklyn service. The reason why I keep saying this, a number of our members on the Communities Council do use that service. They come from Nassau, they come from Suffolk, and they're not the only ones. There's thousands of people who do use that service, the through service. And the transfer, walking up and over, is definitely a diminution of service for them. You can show me times that show that in some ways it might be better for them because the actual time of the transfer is less. That would be good to show our passengers, but I don't think a lot of people see that as a benefit. So I think we should take a second look at that, especially moving into phase 2. Thank you.
Ira, and you and I have had a number of discussions on this. The one thing I can report to you is we are not changing the physical infrastructure to the point that would be precluded. But that was the plan that was adopted by this board when East Side Access was moved forward. So that's where we are right now. That's the way we're moving forward. But the physical configuration that was advanced as part of that does not preclude through running trains to Brooklyn.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, and one has to remember that these 5 projects are dwarfed, of course, by second track, which will be finished shortly.
This year?
This year.
Or, I'm sorry.
Or next year.
Coming year.
Right, 2018, and then the start of third track, which will start next year. So there's a lot of work going on the main line to accommodate not only East Side Access, but its own improvements as necessary going forward. So keep prepared. Next.
One more information
Yes.
item, and that is the service adjustments. And there, as we enter into the holiday season, we have early departures prior to Thanksgiving. We have early departures at Christmas. We have a number of service adjustments that are planned throughout the season, New Year's, et cetera. So they are in the book. We also have some track work that will continue. We're doing some work down in Brooklyn on the Atlantic branch where we're coordinating with the overbuild project going on down there. The mainline project, virtually every weekend we're doing something out on the main line, whether it's enhancing one of the 14 grade crossings that need to be modified as part of the project, or switch installations, so they are also in there. And we have on the Greenport service, we do have a switch replacement that we were going to do earlier, but it got rescheduled due to conflict with a festival that they were holding at Greenport.
Right.
So.
I remember that conversation.
And that's the extent
Any
of the
questions
information.
on the changing of the timetables? If not, we'll go to procurements.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Procurements begin on page 52 in the book. We have one item in this month's procurement package in the total amount of $1.4 million. This item is in the competitive section. There are no items in the non-competitive section, and there are no ratifications. The item in the competitive section is a request for MTA Board approval to award a competitively solicited personal service contract to service strategic planning partners for the development of protocols for security-sensitive information and for security control officer consultants for various long-hour railroad locations for all existing and proposed railroad projects containing security and SSI components for a period of 2 years, plus a 1-year option in the total not to exceed amount of $1,377,643. The consultants will, among other things, develop procedures, facilitate the development of procedures, records management, and database maintenance for all non-disclosure related documents, as well as records pertaining to access, preservation, use, reproduction, disposal, and transmission of all materials containing MTA security-sensitive information. SSP provided the lowest cost proposal of the 4 proposals received and was determined to be the most technically qualified firm to perform the work by the Railroad's Technical Evaluation Committee. This item is submitted for your consideration and vote.
Well, hold on, Chuck. I'll make a motion to approve. A second. Now, Chuck, go right ahead.
Quick 2 questions. Why do we need a consultant on how to provide security? You've got excellent people there. Why do you need it?
Chuck, let me answer that one. What we do is we hire security specialists for certain projects to review design drawings that are submitted. So their role is one of, for these multitude of projects that we're doing, to look at it from a security perspective and making sure that they are properly secured. It's not a separate design project or anything like that. It is how to look with a different eye, from a different point of view, at our projects that we're moving forward.
Second part, if I may, is why is there no MBWE diversity provision here?
Well, just like any other procurement, we go through an analysis of what's available and that type of stuff. And, you know, we've been very aggressive with the goals moving forward. You know, in this specific one, you know, I don't know what was available, what the availability was. But this is an as-needed contract. It's a blanket type effort.
Ira?
Yeah. I mean, I assume that Metro North and New York City Transit probably has do they have a similar contract, or do they do this differently?
I do not know the answer to that.
Because I would think that if we try to do one contract for all 3, it just seems to be something that would be an MTA-wide effort. Does anybody know if the other agencies do?
Bob isn't here.
If someone could get back to me, I'd appreciate it.
We would.
Why
There he
we
is.
aren't doing this together? It would be good to know.
Let's see if Bob knows the answer.
Okay.
Ira, we'll find out the answer. We'll find out
good.
the answer. Okay. Anyone else? Motion and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Operation reports, starting on page 56. The reports are here. Is there anything you want to amplify on?
There's one item that I failed to mention in my president's remark, and that is the ridership report. And as you know, we're always, the board report always lags a month, but I always bring in the actuals. And given the fact that we're a week early this month, we just got them late on Friday. But I am happy to report that October of 2017 was higher than October of 2016. So year to date, as we were before October, we are higher. I will say there is a trend of very much increased ridership in the non-commutation area and a slight decrease in the commutation area, and that seems to be a trend that continues.
And if we could just keep everybody else off the tracks, we'd actually even be better in that context. It's amazing how many people decide that the Long Island Railroad tracks are the easiest way to move from one part to another part and get hit.
You know, it's remarkable, and Owen will verify this as part of the investigation of last week's incident. You know, it is people following their Waze or Google Maps system that tells them to turn, and they turn. That continues to be a problem for us.
Chuck, did you have something you want to add?
Just one quick point.
Yes.
At a future meeting, could we have a discussion in this committee of the Atlantic freight operation? And I'll tell you why. We keep getting the presentation at the full board meeting, we really don't discuss it. I'd like to find out where we are with it and talk about it, not now, but at a
Right.
future board meeting, all right?
We can do that.
We'll put it on the agenda for
Thank
either
you very
December or
much.
January, depending on how.
Whenever
Is
it's
it- is an
convenient.
information
out.
item.
Yep.
Whenever it works. Bye.
Good. Okay. Anyone else? If not, motion to adjourn. Second, all in favor. Thank you all very much.